White women for Kamala. Now, you heard me. Because right now, there's a lot of polls coming out. Some showing Kamala winning, others showing Trump winning. But all I know is that if Trump were to win, let's say he wins the general election, there's going to be a lot of white liberal women who are going to be having breakdowns and going to therapy for the next 4 years. I don't know if this is just a way to cope. I don't know if this is just a way to try and make themselves relevant. But Democrats, especially the diehard vote blue no matter who base, how can anyone take you guys seriously if you're this easily triggered and this emotionally unstable? We are dealing with people who have turned themselves into clowns purposely because they're letting some politician, Donald Trump, live rent-free in their head. Case in point, let's pull up this video here. White women for Kamala. White women for Kamala. And it's just the importance of using their white girl privilege to garner support for Kamala Harris in the 2024 election. When I'm done playing with this video, some people will be screaming, Kit, make it stop. Make it stop. Make the pain stop. No. If I had to sit through it, so do you.
Ariel Fodor, affectionately known as Mrs. Frazzle, to her combined audience of over 1.5 million followers, is here to help gentle parent us through this election.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I am so honored to speak today. I am like shaking to just be among such incredible company. We are here because, as if you were here earlier, you've heard BIPOC women have tapped us in as white women to step up, listen, and get involved this election season. This is a really important time, and we all need to use our voices and influence for the greater good. No matter who you are all influencers in some way. So tonight, I'm going to share some do's and don'ts for getting involved in politics online and navigating the toxicity that comes with it.
These are the people that will rat you out, say, that person said a mean thing on Twitter. Everybody cancel him. I don't like that video. We need to cancel it. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Okay, the do's and don'ts. Hey, let me tell you about the rules of politics. There are no effing rules when it comes down to social media and the internet. It's the Wild West. And even though people say there are rules, there are no rules.
And spoiler alert, as much as the toxicity can come from the outside, it can come from us too. So first, don't isolate yourself. We can do our best work when we're in community together like we are tonight, because the toxic feels smaller when we support each other. But don't make it about yourself. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on.
Oh, God. Don't correct them. Just listen and just know that in your hearts, you are right. Because nothing's better than a smug liberal who will listen to you, but then still look at you like you're a clown. See, the thing is, don't trust the liberal, okay? You cannot trust the liberal. It is an entity that refuses to be reasoned with, and heaven forbid, it's a white woman triggered by Donald Trump.
So do learn from and amplify the voices of those.
Hold on. Listen again. God forbid correcting them.
We can do our best work when we're in community together like we are tonight, because the toxic feels smaller when we support each other. But don't make it about yourself. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on. So do learn from and amplify the voices of those who have been historically marginalized, and use the privilege you have in order to push for systemic change. As white people, we have a lot to learn and unlearn. So do check your blind spots. You are responsible for your algorithm, believe it.
Yes, we as white women, we have privilege and power. And we got to remember, we can't be too condescending because we got to beat Trump. Just got to get everybody to vote for Kamala. That's it. But see, the thing is, there's articles like this that give me hope. And folks, listen, am I going to be a smug prick if Donald Trump wins and I'm just laughing at people having meltdowns on TikTok? Absolutely. Look, I never said I was the hero of the story. I'm like the anti-hero, okay? So I'm going to be a smug prick and laugh at people. And I will do my best to do it in moderation, okay? I won't get fat and greedy. Nah, I can't make that promise. I'm going to get fat and greedy. Behind the hoopla, Democrats anxious about Harris, but she's doing so great. And white women are going to help her out. Behind the public jubilation, the honeymoon phase is starting to fade away, honey child. Over Vice President Kamala Harris' swift rise to become their party's likely nominee for president, Democrat lawmakers are privately anxious about her prospects of defeating the former president, Trump, acknowledging she is largely untested as a candidate and faces serious challenges. Yeah, like her failed campaign in 2020. And again, I'm going to say that for all the liberals in the back. Her failed campaign in 2020. It went broke. It went belly up. It was an absolute disaster. It was a shite show. Everybody was laughing at Kamala because it was funny. And her campaign had nothing to offer, just like it has nothing to offer now. Democrats, she barely even got 1% of the black vote during the primary process because black voters made their own decision and decided not to support Kamala because people are smart. People look into politics. People look into politicians, and they realize who they like and who they don't like. And they made it very clear during the primary that nobody liked Kamala, and especially with the final death blow that Tulsi Gabbard gave her during the not one, but two primary debates, it was very clear that Kamala was just not that candidate. She didn't have that spark. And plus, ever since she's been part of the Biden-Harris administration, her numbers have been lower than Joe Biden. A lot of smoke and mirrors. The honeymoon phase is over. And now Democratic voters are realized that they might have married the wrong person again. Come on. The anxiety, for the most part, has been set aside out of a deep sense of relief that Biden decided to drop his re-election bid. After months of unease over the 81-year-old incumbent, Democrat lawmakers are glad to rally behind Harris and hope she will rev up Democrat donors along with young and minority voters. Good luck, because the voters didn't really turn out during the primary, and Kamala was on the ticket with Biden for VP when Biden was still running. The voter turnout for the 2024 primary are low. Compared them to 2016 and 2020, the 2024 numbers don't even match up. But concerns are already bubbling over Harris' ability to connect as well as Biden did in 2020 with white working class and union voters in 3 states that were critical to defeating Trump: Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. She wasn't a great candidate, one Democrat senator said of Harris's performance as a presidential candidate in 2020 when she pulled out of the Democratic primary before the Iowa caucuses. So she pulled out, didn't go in deep. And she may not be as a political campaigner as good as Biden was in his prime, the senator added. The lawmaker argued Harris' pure political skills won't be as crucial to her success now that the entire Democratic Party is rallying behind her, and now she has a clear path to the nomination when the Democratic National Committee holds virtual proceedings early next month. She's not campaigning in a primary. Yeah, but see, a primary is important so that voters can see who's a stronger candidate. She is the candidate. She's got thousands of people working for her, and she's got a team of the smartest people, many of whom have worked with her over the years. Then why she hemorrhage us out of a staff of 47? Only 4 remained. Only 4 remained. So that means 43 people, when Kamala Harris, 3.5 years as VP, left Kamala. That means there's only 4 people left. What's it like working for Kamala? But the senator warned Harris won't have an easy path to victory. We need to be very clear-eyed, and it's going to be brutally tough, the lawmaker said. An Emerson College poll of registered voters in swing states conducted July 26th to 23rd found Trump leading Harris 46% to 45% in Michigan, 48% to 46% in Pennsylvania, while two candidates are tied 47% in Wisconsin. Senator Bernie Sanders and his allies say Harris needs to do a lot more to win over blue-collar voters in these states. They weren't happy that Biden got shoved off the ticket after working closely with his top advisors to craft a progressive economic plan for the first 100 days of his second term. Bernie, you cuck. Biden was never going to follow through. For her to become president, she's going to have to be talking about issues that impact the 60% of Americans, working people who are living paycheck to paycheck, Sanders told The Hill last week. The Democratic strategist allied with Sanders said it's not clear Harris will be a stronger candidate than Biden in November, and a source noted she was more associated with defending abortion rights and voting rights than tackling economic inequality during her 3.5 years as vice president. A major cause of concern among Democrats is that third-party or Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could wind up sucking up votes of a lot of crucially conservative, union-line working-class voters in the industrial Midwest. A second Democratic senator who requested anonymity acknowledged Harris isn't perfect, but argued she's a lot better than Biden would have been, citing broad pessimism about Biden's chances of victory after his disastrous debate performance and failing attempts to right his campaign. Democrats were in a depression. Oh, they were? Really? The senator said of the mood in the caucus after the debate. Behind the scenes, almost everyone's pushing hard to say, gosh, Joe, we love you, but go. It's not as if there was a perfect vision of, oh, we have the best candidate in the world in reserve, the senator added. But the source said Harris doesn't have much time to win over voters in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, the three most critical states to winning the White House. Democrats who could have avoided all of this last year. She was just getting started. That challenge is not something she's blind to in any way, the senator said, of the work Harris needs to do to appeal to voters in those battlegrounds. One Democratic strategist based in Pennsylvania said Harris doesn't have any special relationship with the Keystone State. That's nothing like Biden, who was born in Scranton and representing neighboring Delaware for 36 years in the Senate. Okay, he represented Delaware, not Pennsylvania. So maybe he visited Pennsylvania here and there. But okay, I get it. He's part of the Democratic machine. And of course, Pennsylvania, very similar to Illinois, probably has its own Democrat machine because the Democrats like to just screw things over. What I find surprising is how few relationships he has here, the strategist said. California is very far away. It's seen as very foreign culturally. Everything I've always heard is she doesn't have that many relationships in Pennsylvania, and she hasn't established any kind of identity here, the source said. Obviously, it's a very big difference with Joe Biden. Senator Bob Casey, who's locked in a tough re-election battle, said Harris has a lot of work to do in his home state. Her campaign is not even a week old. There's obvious a need to be able to get her message out, he said. I think by the end of it, she'll win, but we have a lot of work to do. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's presence on the ticket could change things, and a Democrat is seen as a top contender to becoming Harris's running mate. During a fierce debate with the Senate Democratic Conference earlier this month over whether to push Biden off the ticket, the president's allies told their colleagues Harris would almost certainly take his place as the nominee, making the implicit argument that she would have her own flaws as the party standard bearer. The only reason why Kamala was ever VP in the first place is because Klobuchar had that scandal around her, was what happened to George Floyd. Okay? The Klob got clobbered because of her own failures. That's the only reason why we have Kamala as VP, because Klobuchar had to drop out of politics and could not be the VP. One source familiar with internal discussions about replacing Biden said Senator Chucky Boy Schumer was initially lukewarm about Harris taking over as the party's nominee, which is why he had his pathetic please clap moment. On Wednesday, however, Schumer gave the vice president a ringing endorsement and seemed elated by the huge outpouring of Democrat support for her candidacy since Biden announced his decision to end his campaign. Boy, oh boy, are we enthusiastic. That does not sell it for me. That doesn't. And corporate media, you're in a little bit of a quandary here, corporate media, because right now, as an institution, as a group, you have to sell the fact that somehow, you're going to keep her relevant, and that you're going to try and sell somebody to us. The thing is, there's a lot of hype surrounding Kamala. you're going to be responsible for a lot of people having meltdowns because everybody takes a word, at least the liberals take a word from BSD and C as the gospel. Case in point here. Shout out to Case Study QB. I don't know how you're sitting through all of this, buddy, but you're made out of stronger stuff than me.
Yesterday was the deadline for anyone else to file if they intended to run for, put their name in the hat to run for president now because Joe Biden had stepped down off the ticket. Did anyone else put in before that filing deadline yesterday?
Well, Simone, there were some inquiring minds, but let me just say this. Kamala Harris is the presumptive nominee. She is getting overwhelming support in terms of signatures. And we see the excitement that her campaign is bringing not only to the Democratic Party, but to the country. I mean, when you think about it, we've had Black women for Kamala Harris, Black men for Kamala Harris, Latino community for Kamala Harris, white women for Kamala Harris, and tomorrow there's a white dude for Kamala Harris.
Oh, God. White dudes for Kamala Harris. I went on the bet all of those dudes are cucks, and they just sit back and watch their wives get railed. I don't know. I mean, again, everybody's going to bat for Kamala. They're trying to turn her into the next big thing. Corporate media, you're using the smoke and mirror tactics, and if Kamala loses, a lot of people are going to be having some meltdowns. Now, I'll be laughing at them as they're crying and screaming on the internet. But you play a big role in hyping things up. Media, when are you going to start taking responsibility? Because so many people are emotionally stunted and so afraid of Donald Trump. They take jagoffs like these as the quote-unquote experts. So they're taking comfort in this. They're being hyped up. But this honeymoon stage is going... Sooner or later, Kamala's going to make a big old slip-up. And whether or not there's a debate or not, who knows? But if there is... If Kamala's not prepped and ready and she makes an ass out of herself like Biden did with Trump, goodness gracious, Democrats, you got nothing.
I have never seen this type of energy, this type of organizing, grassroots organizing, in all of my years of being involved in politics. She's raised over $200 million, 100,000 plus volunteers, and the DNC is also benefiting greatly from that energy. So our vice president is the presumptive nominee. We will have the official vote on August 1st. And, you know, folks who have inquired, they have up until July 30th to get their 300 signatures, but it's good.
There isn't a primary process because the Democrats don't believe in a primary process. There isn't going to be one. But look, Democrats, so I'm pull this up here. Democrats, this is recent polling data showing one thing, something that's not good. 48% Donald Trump, Harris, 45.9%. Now, again, this is just one poll, and there's a lot of polls, some of which showing Kamala winning, others of which showing Trump winning. But it's coming clear to me that in regards to getting those numbers up, Kamala needs to be running on stuff, but she doesn't. Case in point right here, CNN, one of the rare moments you actually break something down properly.
But we live in two Americas because on my page right now, people are arguing about Kamala Harris throwing Black men in jail, thousands of Black men, and they say that she's Kamala. And then on this other side,
one of the rare times where corporate media actually gets something right. Yeah, she is Kamala. Kamala the cop. Kamala the cop. Kamala.
You're
People
hearing
are
that
calling
she's
her Kamala.
Right, Kamala. Like they've come up with a nickname for her. And on the other side, she's too radical. So which one is it? I actually think Kamala Harris answered the question of defund the police in a very nuanced way. She was talking about investing in communities to prevent crime, right? Occupy young people's time, give them something to live for, to work for. And when you looked at her conversation on The View with Meghan McCain, that was actually the stance that she took. It was defund the police, the actual words that was so controversial. The idea itself, there are a lot of people who actually support the idea of investing in communities. So I think that she will be able to navigate this. I think that she'd always been really careful about the way that she answered it. And she just needs to be clear about the fact that she
answered it with a word salad, to be unburdened by what has been burdened upon her, to be unburdened once again.
supports both communities.
Maria, how do you see this playing out?
I agree with Tasha that the vice president has already proven that I think she can thread this needle and do it well. Because even in the clip that you played, Anderson, the way that she answered the question was a way in which a lot of leaders were thoughtfully trying to approach this issue of what are budgets there for? How do you actually keep communities safer? And in fact, during that whole debate, you had a lot of law enforcement officers themselves saying that they did not want to show up at calls and feel like they had to play the role of the social services. And so what she ended up doing at the side of Joe Biden during the Biden-Harris administration is they did both. They increased budgets for law enforcement, and they also increase budgets for social services to be able to make it all about how do you actually keep communities safe.
Huh. And has that worked out? Let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 for yes, Kit. It worked out. And the numbers are low. The communities are growing into some great bastion. Everything's great. It's rainbows and sunshines. Type 1 if that's your answer. Type 2, man, nothing changed. Ain't nothing changed.
And I do think it's hugely hypocritical for Republicans to then go after her for being anti-law enforcement when you had Donald Trump himself siding with the insurrectionists who actually caused the loss of life of law enforcement officers.
Everything always goes back to January 6th, right? January 6th. That's all it's been reduced down to. Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. But hey, way to go, corporate media. You admitted the truth that Democrats will fund the police, right? That they're going to keep on doing that. And all this defund police propaganda was nothing but that, propaganda. Ain't nothing was going to fundamentally change. You think the Democrats are going to do that on purpose? Never. Never. They're not going to do that. So these are emotionally stunted people, which again leads back to that first video, white women for Kamala. White women for Kamala, which will then lead up to white dudes for Kamala, black dudes for Kamala. So many people for Kamala. And you could have all these groups and organizations. You could have all this money flowing in. But at the end of the day, enthusiasm is the key word. How many people are going to be enthusiastic to support Kamala? The numbers don't add up. The honeymoon phase is over. And now you have some rumblings in the Democratic Party saying, yeah, they're nervous and anxious about Kamala too, because her primary performance in 2020 was abysmal. And the fact that her numbers were lower than Joe Biden during these 3.5 years of the Biden-Harris administration, the fact that they were low should also be a sign of concern. But the Democrats, being so emotionally stunted as they are willing once again to rig a primary right before all of us, saying Kamala's our nominee. Anyone that voted in it, you're a sucker. Anybody that participated in the 2024 primary was a fool. You just participated in a nothing burger event. And now Democrats, especially those who are the vote blue no matter who people, I will give you this. When you're consuming corporate media, please do it in moderation. They're trying to gas up Kamala into something that she is not. They're trying to make her seem as though she's this great pragmatic leader. If you look at her track record, it's terrible. I don't know how you're going to pull this off for the convention in Chicago for next month in August, because we got a few more days until we get to August 19th, which is the first day of the DNC convention. Good luck, Democrats, in selling this. Good luck in trying to maintain your presence. And good luck in trying to get voters to turn out. Corporate media, on election night, should Trump win, you definitely need to apologize to the American people if Trump wins. Because you've been gassing up the Kamala so much that she might as well solve the fossil fuel crisis. She's got so much gas. But too bad it's a nothing. Because like anything the Democrats produce, it's fraudulent.